Time now for today's speed round, brought to you by Verizon 5G, and let's get right to it. Interesting item came up yesterday as Byron Leftwich, the Jaguars, talking about a contract, Peter, unless they aren't. Who knows? Who knows where it all stands currently? Here's the tweet from Mike Jurecki, who's been covering the Cardinals for years. Hearing the Jaguars are close to hiring Adrian Wilson as their GM and Byron Leftwich as their head coach. That speaks to the power play that apparently has been going on. Not necessarily about money for Byron Leftwich, it's about getting Trent Baalke out as the GM and Adrian Wilson in. That would be fascinating if it happens. It got quiet after that. But you see what Baalke's trying to do. Like, Baalke brought in Vic Fangio, the former Broncos coach, for an interview. Leftwich is the guy they've been focused on. Baalke's been the very controversial subject there. He inspired all the fans to show up in clown suits. Not that he wanted to, but they want him out. And who knows where this is going. But, you know, look, dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. There's a chance, though, they're going to come out of this dysfunction doing the right thing.
Mike, you know what I've heard inside the Jaguars, that Baalke has basically said internally that if I'm the problem, I'll step aside. And, you know, we'll see if that indeed is the case. That certainly isn't looming, but just my absolute gut feeling when this ends is that a guy who's been in charge of personnel the last 3 years, he's been in charge of personnel, is, I think, 6 and 43 over those 3 years. You know, obviously the fans are not going to have a lot of faith in him. So just my guess, my gut feeling is that when the Jaguars come out of this, they will have a new coach and a new general manager, not just a new coach.
I think the Urban Meyer thing was such a disaster. You just got to clear the decks and start over again. I think that's where a lot of the fan discontent comes from. But stay tuned, Jacksonville. We think you'll have an eventual coach at some point. Are the Giants limiting their head coaching candidate pool, Peter, by making it so clear, as they did the other day when Joe Shane was introduced as the GM, that Daniel Jones is their guy at quarterback?
I don't think there was any way that they were ever going to think of dumping Daniel Jones this year. And I think that even though John Mara and Steve Tisch said to the GM, you can do whatever you want, the codicil to that, Mike, the asterisk to that is, you can do whatever you want, but Daniel Jones is going to be our quarterback this year. And in my opinion, Mike, I think they're absolutely 1,000% right. Terry Bradshaw comes out with a documentary this coming week on HBO. And in that documentary, he said, if I was playing today, the Steelers would have cut me after 3 years because I was a disaster. I was awful. And so how in the world do you judge Daniel Jones after these 3 years, especially year 3, when your offensive line continues to be awful, and the two guys who you brought in to be your great receiving combo platter, you know, you draft one, Kadarius Toney, and then you get one from the Lions in free agency, and they're hurt the whole year. And so I think the Maras, the Tisches, they basically have said, we're giving this guy one more year, and then let's see.
Do you pick up his option for 2023? Because Sims and I talked about this real quickly. Doesn't it send a mixed message, though, when they came out so strong in favor of Jones? Now, by May 3rd, they're going to say,
no.
Yeah, but we don't like him enough to commit to him for 2 years.
But you don't know. You don't know. This is not this. You don't like him enough. You just simply don't know. And if you have to pay him above market in 2023, that's the risk you take. If Daniel Jones gets hurt again or he becomes a turnover machine again, then you know after this year you're starting anew and you're not going to be burdened with whatever the number is, $23 million on the cap for a guy you don't want anymore. Do you think the Carolina Panthers are happy that they exercise the option of Sam Darnold? No, they're not. So you play this year, you sing for your supper, and you see what happens after this year.
What's the most likely landing spot for Brian Flores, up to and including just deciding to take a year off and jump into it next year?
You know, I don't know. My absolute guess would be Houston, but that's all it'd be. It'd be a guess. You know, Mike, I think that the fact that it has taken now 20 days. Brian Flores has been on the street now 19 days as of today. But the fact that he's been on the street that long tells me that everybody who said the day he was fired, oh, he's going to have his choice of jobs. There's a reason that he doesn't have his choice of jobs. And it's because everybody wonders, why in the world does this guy who basically was 500 with a struggling quarterback, either no quarterback or a struggling quarterback, did a hell of a job, got 7-game winning streak this year. And look, all the personality stuff, Mike, I think everybody is checking out, and there's got to be at least something to it. There's a reason why you have 4 offensive line coaches, 4 quarterback coaches, and 4 offensive coordinators in 3 seasons. There's a reason for that. You can't just say, well, it didn't fit. I mean, that's got to be on the head coach, or at least a big part on the head coach.
Still back-to-back winning records for the first time in a generation in Miami, and swept the Patriots. So part of it, too, is I think he's being very careful. He knows he's got one more shot. The Wade Phillips, Norv Turner, 3 tries to be a head coach, that doesn't happen anymore. You get 2 as a head coach. He wants his second one to count. I think the Giants are still in play.
Definitely.
I think it's Brian Flores or Brian Daboll in New York. Do you agree?
Me too. Yeah, absolutely.
Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. Go ahead.
But what if the Dolphins kind of throw a trump card on the table and steal Daboll before? Then probably you are going Flores with the Giants.
Well, just like, as you said, everyone needs to do their homework about Flores. Whoever's going to go to Miami needs to do their homework about Miami. Not just currently, but the history. I'd want to talk to Jeff Ireland, Joe Philbin, Don Aponte about what went on there. It's all the dysfunction that happens because the cat is permanently away. Stephen Ross isn't there. That leads to all sorts of problems. All right, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, the new GM of the Vikings. Here's the one thing that I'll say. And I said this as it relates to the Giants, the Bears, and I'll say it as it relates to the Vikings. Let your GM hire the coach he wants, because that, along with coach quarterback, that relationship is critical. They need to work together, especially in Minnesota, where, again, the cat is permanently away. The Wilfs don't live and work in the building.
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a call that the owners are basically saying, hey, look, we hired a trustworthy general manager who John Lynch absolutely swears by, the 49ers absolutely swear by, that the Cleveland Browns absolutely swear by. And, you know, why would you bring in a guy like that if you're going to honcho the coaching search? They're doing the right thing in allowing this sort of brainiac general manager to put his stamp on the team and to pick the coach he wants.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.